fatal heart impacts, past painful scars. In fact, I blast tasteful bars and pass. I back up my actions, fact don't ask, grab reactions, jacked attack with every word, then act with class as they hear me snap. I got nothing to lose, cause I fought and felt the bruise. Now I'm not the one confused, call the shots and they produce. I ain't lost, I'm finally loose. Pick a new silver excuse, I need the views to boost me to a new abuse of being used. Everybody wants a piece now, y'all can rest in peace now. You're dead to me, so peace out. Remember, you're discreet out. Get ready for defeat now.
Alrighty. Hello everybody. This is Curie Show here, and now. Whenever we last left off, or, well, actually I believe I should state this before I do start, I went over the recording for the last episode, and I did not really say this, but I put it down in the editing. 2 months passed before Deku got one for all. I don't believe I put it that way, but I'm going to be specifying it that way. So that means Deku got one for all 7 months into the training for UA or leading up to UA. Now, with that being said, Deku was also dealing with the fact that he just got some news that was pretty heavy. And he was reacting to it differently than a normal person was, or really how his family was. Inko and his younger sister, they were breaking things, and they seemed angry. Hisashi, he really just seemed quiet, and he was more or less still trying to process the news about that man dying. Meanwhile, Deku, he actually just cried. He felt sad. He didn't understand this emotion at first. However, it wasn't something that was shallow. It wasn't something like remorse. This was a genuine, deep, guttural sadness. And it just felt strange to him. He always thought death was something to not really look too much into. And the moment he started understanding more about life, he understood exactly the value of it. And now he understands the loss of life. Now, with that being said, Deku, he actually would call All Might and explain to him that he can't go to training for a few weeks. And this actually does somewhat surprise All Might. All Might was very confused. He just gave Deku one for all, and now he's saying that they can't train? Now, All Might, he would have sort of pushed this a little bit, asking the young man if he is just going to be, well, leaving the training entirely, or if something may have popped up or something may have happened. If he really does need to just focus on something else, or can he just not really train at all? And Deku would have explained it. Now, All Might, he would have actually understood, telling Deku that he can take some time, and whenever he does feel like coming back to training, he can come back. Fact is, he does understand. Now, with that being said, Deku he would have also at least told Momo and all the other girls. And yeah, they do sort of understand. This is something that just popped up, so they can't really fault Deku for that. Now, Deku he would have at least stated to them he will try to be back soon, and that he's pretty sorry about this. Now, Deku and his family, they do head back to the Curie village. As every single Curie on the planet, they are here right now. Their leader just passed. That man, the mighty demon, he was well over 90. And the fact was, he was almost a century old. That man, he's just, well, hard to believe he made it that long as a Cure. It's just so weird. Many people believed that that man would still be alive in 20 years. But even then, it's just, wow. Now, many Curie have come here to pay their respects, since they value his strength, and the loss of it is something to mourn. Now, a festival is thrown, and it's more or less a celebration of the demon's strength. Now, we actually do have back in the main house, or the house of the main branch, where everybody they have gathered, and they're at least looking over everything. This will be a few days later. They've still actually tried to understand things. Deku, he's talked to his uncle, and he's even met back up with his cousin. It's just so strange to him. Deku, he talked to Ryan, and Ryan, he was just so, well, quiet. The man he's usually angry, the man he's usually loud, but today he's quiet. He just doesn't seem in the mood to talk. And the moment he saw Deku, he didn't really even stare at him or look at him. It was more or less just he sees him and he just ignores him. And that was out of the odd for the Ryan, or, well, Ryan himself. Ryan, whenever the two usually do see each other, they fight. They try to prove who is superior in strength. And Deku, for a minute, he thought Ryan actually valued his strength. He saw it. But no, it could just be something else. Now, Deku, he doesn't really want to try to push that. If Ryan, he is mourning, then he better not really try to get in his way. It might just be better to let the man grieve. Now, with that being said, the funeral service is held, and many people, they are actually there in attendance. As that night, fireworks will be set off, and a entire challenge of strength, or at least show of strength, would be held. Many Curies are here to demonstrate their powers, and in fact, it is actually very, well, a show to see, you could say. Many people are trying to show their respects to the demon by absolutely maxing out their battles, and seeing how long they can drive them out. It's more or less an endurance match. And this is to show, or at least honor the demon in its own way. They will show their power to him to celebrate him. And many people, they are actually there to watch. Now, with that being said, Deku, whenever he is actually up to show off his power, he does actually show it off. And many people, they are actually kind of surprised. Whenever Deku, he actually is facing off against a Curie, he wipes the floor with them. And he does actually stay in the ring. As another Curie would walk up, and the same thing would happen. Now, many people are actually watching this. And it gets to the point where people actually have to start using team matches or even doing a triple match. And a lot of people are just more or less starting to get more horrified. Deku's able to take on 3 Curies with removals of 70%. And then they just take on 4, 5, 6, 7. And it gets to the point where Deku, after at least finally taking a good amount of damage after, let's say, battling 50 Curies, he just walks out of the ring. And people, they do actually see him. Deku was starting to give back into that Curie instinct of battle. He started to just get angry again. And he knew he had to leave. Now, there actually was whenever Deku was in the ring. And, let's just say somebody, they noticed things strange about Deku's removal. It seemed to be stronger. And for split seconds, they thought they saw something strange. Well, it almost looked like a glow, a spark maybe. Now, this did get them to be quite curious about Deku. And there actually is, after the festival is over and the next day, where people, they actually are going over many things. Now, Deku, he does actually learn quite a bit of things. Over the next following weeks, you do also have where the will is eventually read. And there is, whenever Deku, he does hear about something. In his grandfather's will, the mighty demon left Deku something. He left him quite a bit of money and a lockbox. It seemed to be quite strange. Deku got a key and an address. He was just very confused for a minute. He was told about the money he was given, but this key, it's out of the ordinary for it. Why did he get it? It just seems so weird to him. Now, it was kind of surprising. And she didn't really expect that of her father. And Ryan, he also did seem to be surprised as well. Deku, he got quite a bit of money from his inheritance. And then there's the fact that the key that was left, not even they know where it goes to. So that's kind of scary to them. Now, it is actually something surprising. And there is actually where Yuya, or Yu, she actually does notice her brother. She actually uses her quirk and goes into his head, trying to see exactly what's going on with him. And she does find it to be quite strange. She expected to encounter a roaring river. However, it just seems like it's strange. Deku's thoughts, they seem more calm. They are angry. They are rage-filled, yes, but they're calm. And she does actually pick up on that. Yeah. She does also actually pick up on the mention of something. Training people outside of the Curie clan. And even him training with All Might. Now, the moment Yu actually does hear this in her brother's head, she does jump up, turning to her brother and asking why he's keeping that a secret. And Deku actually does turn to look at his sister. You were reading my mind? Yes, I was. You're training with All Might? Now, everybody does stare directly at Deku, as you do actually have the Curie lawyer, who is sitting across. The man went from looking straight ahead to looking right at Deku with a glare. Fighting All Might is something every Curie wants to do, and he's doing it? Now, you did actually have Orion and Inko, they did actually stare at Deku as well. And Deku, he did try to explain himself. All Might, it was well part of his reward for training Momo and some other people. He gets to fight the number one hero. And even then the number one hero, he still is actually very curious about his power. Since the man himself has stated that the two, whenever he goes slightly at least above easy mode, or if you want to put it above practice mode, he actually is someone on par with him. Now, it is actually kind of annoying to Ryan and Inko. It's surprising to her. Apparently, from what Deku tries to explain, him and All Might fought a lot. They see each other more or less as teacher and student, you could say. Deku's learning from him as well. And it does actually somewhat tick off Ryan. If Deku is learning from All Might, if he is fighting with that man, it could explain why he lost. The two, they'd never technically considered it to be a battle. Ryan, he tried challenging All Might, and All Might, he basically told him that no. He basically told him no. No, they will not be fighting. No, they will not be going against one another. And Ryan, being Ryan, he never really took that as a no. So, yeah. That battle was a complete wash. All Might did basically give him what he wanted. And the battle, it lasted not more than a minute. However, from hearing Deku's story, the two, whenever they do at least fight on that par, or at least on that mode, which is the removal, they actually do somewhat maintain a healthy balance. Now, Deku, he doesn't tell his uncle about the loan, since he does know that Deku uses that technique against him. Then there's also going to be the point where he does ask more about it. Now, I do feel like the Curie clan, they would know about One for All. And they actually would know about All Might's little secret. Since they could spy on All Might, they could try and find out his secret identity, they could follow him and track him. So I feel like eventually it would come out to the Curie clan, or to the Curie clan, about this well-guarded secret. They wouldn't have a name for the quirk, But they would know that All Might, at one point, he was registered as quirkless up until high school, where he went to UA. Now, they didn't really keep that too much of, well, a secret themselves. It is actually common knowledge to some Curie. Others, it's well more of a guarded secret. Now, this, although, does actually kind of surprise Ryan. If Deku may have gotten some kind of miraculous boost from battling All Might, that means that the boy is too far ahead. Now, the man, as he is reading the will and does continue on, there actually is where Deku, he is told to please leave the room, since that was all said and done. Now, Deku, he does get to stand up and leave, as he does exit the room and start to look around the house, trying to, more or less, find out what this key may go to. And eventually, after going into his grandfather's room and looking around a bit and going through the chest that was there, sitting there, he found something. Upon opening this chest with a lock, he was actually able to open it with his key. It was very surprising. After he did open it, however, and go to bring it up, there actually was where there was a key taped on the very top of the thing. Deku was surprised he did reach out and grab that, starting to go through everything here. He finds an old jacket, or an old black jacket, him grabbing it and putting it off to the side, and then starting to go through everything else here. There's quite a bit of things, and it does just catch Deku off guard. Now, Deku, he does reach inside, as he does pull out what looks to be an old sword. And he's not really surprised, but he's more or less impressed. The blade in the sheath, it's, well, clearly an old weapon. Whenever Deku does go to undo it, or at least pull it out and examine it, he can tell by the craftsmanship of it. This was a weapon specifically forged for his grandfather. It's made specifically for him. The grooves inside of it, the small amount of damage to the weapon. This has clearly been used in battle before. And even then, he can at least tell by the craftsmanship on it, this was made by a Curie. Now, Deku, he is actually very impressed, setting it down to the side and looking through more things. And he does actually find a few things. He does discover a brown envelope that is large and somewhat bulky. Whenever he does go to pick it up and at least open it up, he does go to pour out the contents, as he's somewhat surprised by what he does see. He does find a paper and a few photos, along with even a set of keys that do drop down onto the ground. Now, Deku, he does look over some of the photos, and it's very surprising. Some of these photos were whenever Deku was younger, and then some of them were from whenever Deku was training. And then there's at least the most recent one. This photo here, it must have been taken, what? Not even 2 months ago, maybe 3? It depicts him and All Might, the day the two were standing on the beach. Now, Deku, he also started to read the contents of the envelope, as it does at least tell Deku that, yeah, he's been watching him for quite some time. He's been worried about him for quite some time. Currently, Deku is a very young man. He's still at the age of 14 whenever he is writing this. He does not know whenever Deku would open the contents of this simple box, or if at all. However, if he is currently reading this, he does want to apologize for dying. He is very old. He knows that one day his power will leave him. He knows that one day he will die. But there is actually hope for it. He can sense something greater inside of Deku. He can sense the full evolution of a Curie. Deku, he might be what they're looking for, yes. He is unsure. And right now, he does wish to know. Will Deku be able to do whatever it takes to lead the Curie, be able to push them into a new era? Whenever he is long dead and Ryan does take over, he does need to make sure to be careful. Ryan himself is unstable. Ryan himself, he's not really one for, you know, being calm, being tactical. He's not one for thinking. He needs to understand. If Deku is given the chance to lead the Curie, he must take it. Deku is far too young. If Deku is over the age of 20 by the time this is being read, he does hope that Deku can at least issue a challenge. Him giving Deku the name of the challenge before at least expressing to Deku that he does also need to be aware. If he doesn't really understand the premises or at least the circumstances of how he died, he needs to investigate it, since foul play must have been involved. Now, Deku does find this to be quite strange. Foul play? Wait, what does that mean exactly? Now, Deku does reach back into the envelope, checking to see if there's anything left. As he does just look down at that pair of keys. What is this? Now, Deku, he does read a small note attached to them, expressing that this is where this bike, or at least this vehicle, is located. And Deku, he's kind of, well, not happy, but taken aback by it. He's being given a car or vehicle by his grandfather even after his death? The man really does like to spoil his grandchildren. Now, Deku, after finding the vehicle, he does go back over to everything else, picking up whatever he can, and at least relocking or resealing this chest. Taking the brown envelope and at least going to try and investigate what happened to his grandfather. Now, Deku, he does investigate it. And from what he can tell so far, nothing. He was told how his old man died. He was told exactly what happened. He saw the body. And from what he can understand, this is a natural death. But should he still be suspicious of Ryan? Yes, his uncle is, well, fucking crazy, but he wouldn't do what he thinks he did, would he? He wouldn't go against his dad. Then again, that does pose another question. Would Ryan have had the strength to? Ryan's power compared to grandfather's was nothing. Deku could probably take the man on, but it would be challenging. But Ryan, if he could do that, if he could take on the mighty demon and kill him, exactly how much stronger has he gotten? Now, this does somewhat concern Deku, as if this is real or true, he has to be worried. Deku, he can issue this challenge his grandfather talks about in a few years. However, he knows that leading up to then will still be tricky. Right now, he does want to investigate his uncle, but he doesn't want to try and come off the wrong way. He could talk to the man, try to at least say something to him. But even then, what can you really say? Hey Ryan, I know this is all out of the blue or out of the strange ordinary, but did you kill grandfather? Since he was very cautious of you, since you're fucking crazy, and he believes that you will drive our clan to literal ruins. Yeah, there's not really much you can say in that scenario. Now, Deku, he does actually stay here for a minute. He stays in the village for, let's just say, about a month. And after that does happen, he does actually go to leave. Now, Deku, he left in the car his grandfather gave him. And after a long drive, he did get back to the city. And a lot of things were going on. Now, Deku, he actually did start up his training with All Might. And he did start to at least learn how to use One for All. However, All Might, yeah. Upon him trying to at least get Deku to throw the first punch, to see exactly where he might stand, it was quickly shown. Deku knew a lot more about One For All than All Might have, especially since he has two different abilities that basically work the same way as One For All. And I do feel like since Deku does at least use removal all over his body and the loan all over his body, he does know how to use his power. He knows that you don't put it all into one place. So he actually would have full cowling right off the bat. And if that wasn't enough, you do actually have Deku, he does go through the smash directly at the ocean. Now, All Might, he actually does get somewhat terrified. Deku did this without the removal or the loan, and All Might he actually felt the wind pressure and everything else around him start to shake. And it was actually pretty scary for a second, since whenever Deku did actually go to pull back his hand, it was smoking, and Deku he actually was staring down at it. As All Might he was very concerned. Now, Deku he at least does go to think, that's some power, isn't it? And All Might he's very concerned. Deku he did not break his arm, and that is what is different than canon. But All Might, now that Deku does have the power of a quirk, and exactly how powerful it is, he is somewhat a little bit scared of Deku. He does know this was the right choice, but still, he can't help but have that fear. Now, Deku and All Might, they do start training. And whenever All Might does at least get Deku to somewhat understand how the power works a little bit better, he does at least entrust Deku with the power. And he doesn't want to really burn through the last 3 hours of his time limit, so they do stop combat training there. Now, Deku, yeah, it is all kind of bad. Or really good for him, but it's kind of bad for All Might. He did want to teach this young man more. But from whenever the two had that first combat training, or at least the first type of combat training, after One For All, it kind of showed All Might everything he needed to see. Now, Deku, he does appreciate what All Might has done for him. And whenever he does hear about that 3-hour time limit, holding All Might back, a part of him does boil over. Deku is somewhat saying that All Might, he does need to go see their Curie doctors. Curie doctors? Yes, All Might. What you're telling me now? Your weekend, right? I've been trying to hold this back, but I can't. Listen, go see one of our Curie doctors. We have techniques, things that the Curie clan, they don't normally use on people. The Curie clan, we know how to speed the body's recovery process. What? I'm sorry, did you just say, yes, All Might? These techniques combined with the Curie's natural healing factor, it might be superhuman. For you, it could help. At least get that limit to be longer. Now, All Might, he does see that kind of thing in Deku's eyes. Deku, he knows for a fact that he does say this because he's not at his prime. The boy wished to face him then, doesn't he? He does understand that. But even then, the idea of extending his time limit, he needs every single minute he can against All For One. And what Deku's basically offering him, if it does at least give him some extra minutes, or even 5, he might as well try it. Now, Deku, yeah, he would actually give somebody a call and get things scheduled for All Might, explain to this Curie about exactly what and who they're going to be working on. And they were very surprised. All Might, he's unaware of it. But the person, since they are a doctor, and they are supposed to be not only already secret of being a Curie, but because of the whole doctor-patient confidentiality, they can't really say anything when Deku tells them that it's All Might who is in a weakened form. And yikes. Now, All Might, he does get all set up there, as Deku does return to his training with the girls, just a little bit earlier than he was supposed to. And he does inform all of them of exactly the Curie training they will be doing. Now, with that being said, I do hope you guys enjoyed, and have an amazing day. I'll catch you guys in the next part.